Welcome back to our best ball recaps for week 5. To start things off, let's take a look at injury reports, see what there is news-wise around the league, talk about the Jets firing of Robert Saleh. So on the newsfeed on Underdog, let's see right here we have Davante Adams unlikely to play week 6. Hamstring in quotes. Clearly not his hamstring, he just wants to be traded. But some other big news, injury-wise, to take a look at would be Devin Singletary, to see if he will be playing this week. Obviously, Tyron Tracy has a big game with him out. I don't see any updated news on Devin Singletary. There's nothing updated there. Aaron Jones is week to week. Nico Collins, week to week, according to D'Amico Ryans. Takes a couple weeks for a hamstring. We'll evaluate on a week-to-week basis. With that being said, expect to bump up in usage with Diggs and hopefully Tank Dell gets going. Then, if we head over to some other injuries, Anthony Richardson still dealing with the oblique. Shane Steichen says that he is the starting quarterback moving forward when healthy. I'd assume he plays this week. Will Levis, coming off the bye. Shoulders improving. Didn't participate yesterday in practice. One thing to note on Derek Carr. He is expected to miss some time, which will be detrimental to everybody in that Saints offense. They've been struggling the last few games after, that red hot start that they had. Other injury news, Devon Achane with the concussion this past week, but they're on bye this week. George Kittle left the game again. He was limited in practice yesterday. Devontae Smith updated health. Nothing there. Smith and AJ Brown expected to play this upcoming week. Let's take a look at Christian Watson. No updates there. Xavier Legette expects to be ready for week 6 against the Falcons after injuring shoulder. Jonathan Taylor. Is there any update on Jonathan Taylor? No update there on his ankle sprain. Evan Ingram, optimistic he'll be cleared for Sunday against the Bears. Zach Moss, another one, which could impact Chase Brown here. Believed to be okay after he suffered a right ankle injury. I don't know if there was any other updates outside of that. They never said what the ankle injury was. I'd assume just a slight, a minor sprain. Clearly not a high ankle. If it's minor, could just be a low ankle sprain. Khalil Shakir, questionable for Monday night. Jalen Warren already ruled out. Doubtful Sunday. And then if we're looking at Rams on a bye, Cubs supposed to be back next week. We'll see what happens with Jonathan Brooks. So let's see. Any update on Brooks here? The only update we had was last week that they weren't going to designate him off of IR. No update this week so far. Not good news. But his 21-day window did open. Nick Chubb's been practicing. Malik Neighbors should be good to go off that concussion for Sunday night against the Bengals. Etienne suffered a shoulder injury. They play Sunday morning in London. One thing to note there, Tank Bigsby's been on a heater. Doug Peterson said Tank Bigsby won't be taking over as like the lead back, but I'd expect them to start working into like a 50-50, 60-40 role. Like Tank Bigsby's been super explosive, especially on the ground. Expect ETN to be more of that third down back moving forward. Just in my opinion, Doug Peterson doesn't have the greatest track record of staying true to his word. Aaron Jones with that ankle injury, but they're on a bye this week as well. Again, KC, Minnesota, the Rams, and the Dolphins all on a bye this week. So good for those teams to get healthy. 2 of the 5-0 teams on a bye. Tua most likely should be back week 8. Whenever he's eligible to be designated off of IR, which will be huge for Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. Njoku suffered another injury, knee injury. No really updated news on that one yet either. Nico Collins, we already talked about that one. That's pretty much all the injury news to go over. So now let's head over to talk about the Jets here. I don't know if they have that up. Just real quick, mentioning on the Jets, firing Robert Saleh, just more of the scapegoat there. Ownership's been a huge problem for the Jets. Whatever that dude's name is, Woody Baum or whatever. He's a turd. He hasn't shown anything or willingness to back a head coach or a team. Just put in horrible situations, and that offense has been struggling. Aaron Rodgers wants to be the LeBron James of the NFL and run his own team and be the GM and blah 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 whatnot, and just scapegoats coaches. But yeah, Rodgers hasn't been playing well at all. Nathaniel Hackett is a hack job. The only reason he has a job is because of daddy. There's tons of nepotism, obviously, in pro sports and coaching in general. Seen around the league, it's so obvious. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, like, I was looking at his background. The dude's never even played sports. Like, I don't even know if he played high school sports, maybe, but definitely didn't play college sports from my research. Didn't play, definitely not pro sports. Just got a job because of daddy. So unfortunately, we have to deal with some BS like that in the NFL and pro sports. Unqualified individuals continuing to have a long leash that are awful at their job, which would never happen in I lied, that would happen obviously in the real world, but not as much as sports. The nepotism is off the charts. But yeah, that's my take on it. I'm slighted toward, I just have that slight because of Garrett Wilson on my fantasy team. But I also want to see the Jets do well. Like, I like Breece Hall. I like Garrett Wilson. Their defense is super good. I want to see them, succeed to some capacity. And they're being held back by ownership and leadership, not taking accountability and just firing the wrong guy. So, that's what losing organizations do. But whatever. Moving on from that, though, I'd like to take a look at some of the games, since we didn't actually get to do a reaction Monday. Today's Wednesday. I'm gonna take a look at some games here. If you're tuning in, please drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment about anything about this video. If you need lineup suggestions, if you have anything. I know we're on bye week with some of the better teams, some of the better offenses. We're missing a lot of key players this week as we move into bye week hell. Definitely need to see who to play and how to set our lineups. One thing to note, things become matchup based. It's very important during bye weeks. Anyone's playing the Panthers, you're probably going to start them. I'm starting Tyler Algier, my 14-man, just because, I don't know, he could just bust a big run. I also have Kyron Williams on a bye, so Anyway, if we're looking through, Vikings 5-0, Jets lose in London. We already kind of talked about that one. Vikings look really good. Their defense is sick. Sam Darnold struggled this game. I watched this one in its entirety. But yeah, the Jets just weren't ready on offense. Defense, they were solid. But kind of similar to, I would take the Jets as like similar to the Steelers, where defense is really good. The offense just can't get going and score points. But the sad part is the Jets just, in terms of overall, have much better players at skill positions. I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers is better than Justin Fields. Career-wise, is he at this point? Maybe not. Running back-wise, they have much better running backs than Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. We haven't even had Jalen Warren, and Najee's been slow. And Garrett Wilson's better than George Pickens, so it's pretty inexcusable for the Jets. But again, I'd compare them to the Steelers, just with much worse coaching and ownership. Vikings are sick. Their coaches are insanely good. Definitely top 3 in the NFL in terms of coaching staff, and winning with what they have, scheme-wise. And then obviously, operating that scheme and succeeding. Bears crushed the Panthers, to be expected. Tough game for Deontay Johnson. Jalen Johnson, the corner for the Bears, I would assume was on him a lot. We go ahead and look at here, the box score and stuff. Deontay did have, I think, 6 targets. But yeah, 6 targets, leads the team. No league yet again. He left the game on 28 passes. So that's almost around 25% target share. But Bears defense is sick. Really good. Tough to get going there. Chuba Hubbard has a good day. Swift, obviously, you would assume a good day against the Panthers, but kind of lackluster in yards per carry. Roschon steals 2 goal line touchdowns. DJ Moore gets home against a super weak defense. But nothing more to talk about on that game. Caleb looks better. Panthers are going to suck. But you can start Chuba and Deontay every week. This one was sweet. This game was sick. The Ravens-Bengals. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow just freak out. Lamar Jackson freaks out. Such a sick game for, 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL to go against each other. Awesome matchup. Derrick Henry has a great game. Zay Flowers has a great game. In a game like this, where Lamar throws 42 times, Mark Andrews still only, gets 5 targets. Likely only has 3, but there's 3 tight ends working in now with Kolar, who does get a red zone look and then likely gets 2 touchdowns. So tough there. Justice Hill doesn't need to mix in as much as usual when the team's passing this much, but it was kind of a back and forth game where they weren't trailing necessarily, where Henry could be in the game and they could still run the ball in more of a neutral game script. That Zach Moss injury, again, we mentioned before. So keep a lookout for Chase Brown. He would probably dominate this backfield with 80% of the touches. I don't even know who their other back is, because it's only them 2 working in. Higgins and Chase just dominate targets. Higgins actually leads in targets, and he has been leading since he's been playing in targets, and I think first read looks. But they both get home with 2 touchdowns. Chase obviously is just much better after the catch with 96 yak compared to 21 for T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is definitely the much better, contested catch guy. So sweet there. Continue to start those 2. Tight ends, it's a mess. Can't start Yoshivas. Bills Texans lackluster game. Won't even look at that one. This is when Nika Collins got hurt. Catch like a 65-yard bomb. Then gets that hamstring injury. Tank Dell, you would think would work in, but still doesn't get home. Hopefully they can scheme him up, script him up a little bit this upcoming week. Josh Allen struggles with no Khalil Shakir. Colts, Joe Flacco balls out, but still lose this one just because they have no defense. Jaguars finally on offense getting home. Brian Thomas Jr., absolute freak. Christian Kirk gets home, catches a nice deep ball to really boost his yardage. 61-yard catch. ETN still that PPR scammer. But the big news is Tank Bigsby, 2 touchdowns, actually broke a long of 65. Running back wise, Trey Sermon does get home. Not super efficient on the ground, but the Jags are a tough defense to run against. Alec Pierce just catches 2 deep balls that really gets him there. But Josh Downs leads the team in targets over Michael Pittman with 12. Adonai Mitchell still working in 7 targets. I mean, there's 44 pass attempts. Michael Pittman does get a touchdown. Malik Cox, Alec Pierce. But yeah, Josh Downs looking like the guy to have for PPR. Dolphins, Patriots. Won't even talk about that ugly game. That was horrible. Dolphins on a bye. Patriots. Ramondre not in the doghouse. Had a nice long run for a touchdown to start the game. He's still startable. Nobody else you can touch there. Broncos crushed the Raiders at home. Brock Bowers gets home. I think Jacoby Myers did decent. I mean, I think Aiden O'Connell came in part of this game. Gardner Minshew got benched, but both those guys are just up. Just horrible. No Devontae Adams. Should just be the Brock Bowers show. Broncos wise, Bo Nix does get home himself with a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns. Javonte finally, he leads this team in targets. Courtland Sutton doesn't do much. I mean, they don't pass the ball but 27 times. They were kind of in control of this one. But yeah, with no Tyler Bidet and just Javonte McLaughlin working in here. So, should expect them to be the 1-2 punch still. McLaughlin does score a touchdown. Javonte still hasn't gotten one. Nothing else to talk about that game. Pretty ugly. The Broncos defense is super good though. Carries them. We're looking at Commanders Browns. Commanders just roll the Browns. Nothing to talk about the Browns until Deshaun Watson gets benched. Really ugly there. Jerome Ford can still be a viable starter, I guess, in PPR with his catching upside. Amari Cooper is still super inefficient with his targets. 10 targets, 4 receptions. I think he's leading the league in like uncatchable targets. And Njoku leaves this one too. Hopefully he's good to go. Jane Daniels, absolute freak. Brian Robinson was actually super inefficient this game. Austin Eckler looked better in this one, but obviously you're still starting Brian Robinson. He's a goal line back. Gonna have better days. Austin Eckler still kind of a flex play, and just highly explosive offense. Terry McLaurin gets home as well with a nice deep ball. And then looking at Niners Cardinals. Cardinals actually take this one. Kyler, you would think the Cardinals, would have had a good day on offense, but really nobody gets home besides Kyler and James Conner. Trey McBride does just enough for a tight end, gets you 11 PPR points, but Marvin Harrison, ugly. Michael Wilson is the leading receiver in yardage. But yeah, expect better days from Marvin Harrison. In terms of this game for the Niners, Jordan Mason is a little bit more reliant on touchdowns, but you expect him to, kind of get one every game with the Niners run game being so efficient and so good and just being in the red zone a ton. But doesn't get one here. Actually fumbled on the 8-yard line, I think. They might have lost him this game. Not 100% sure. I didn't get to see this whole one, but still super efficient. He's 6.4 yards per carry. Leads the league in 10-yard plus rushes, like explosive runs. Breaks tons of tackles. Like, he's just a freak. Just not going to get home in the passing game, but still a must start. Top 5 running back until CMC gets back, just based on usage. Debo doesn't get home in this game. Ayuk and Kittle were the main guys this week. But Kittle does go down, so keep an eye on that. It's tough to sustain all those players, as we know in the Niners offense. It's kind of week to week on who gets home. Packers Rams. Packers win this. Kyron Williams still looks good. Blake Corum mixing in a little bit. They're on a bye this week, so Cooper Kupp should be back. This offense will look to be a little bit more efficient. They're 1-4 though in a tough division. So I don't know what to think of this team. The offense is good. It's just, again, a tough division, tough break for them in terms of injuries. We'll see going forward, but obviously Kyron still start. With Cup back, it's going to be hard to know who to play receiver-wise besides him. Tucker Kraft, dog. Jaden Reed, dog. Josh Jacobs, dog-ish. Dontavian Wicks leads the team in targets, but 2 for 20. Couple drops, couple miscommunications on either bad routes or bad throws from Jordan Love. Wicks is still a start, still a flex play with high upside. Moving forward, if there is no Christian Watson, last week was the week with no Romeo Doubs, but still a possible start on a, explosive Packers offense. Cowboys Steelers. No, actually, we'll do the Giants Seahawks first. We'll do this game. Giants actually win this one. I want to say it was 23-20. Seahawks lined up to kick a field goal to tie it. Gets blocked. In return for a touchdown by the Giants. So, ugly game by the Seahawks. Geno Smith passed for 40 times. Looked decent himself, but I think a lot of that came late in the second half on their surge to come back. But as you can see here, it's just a weird game. I didn't get to watch this one. Geno does get 72 yards on the ground, including a 32-yard rush. So that helped his day in fantasy. That's 7.2 extra points. Kenneth Walker does nothing. Does get home in PPR with 7 catches, 57 yards, but on the ground, inefficient, only 5 carries. DK doesn't do much for you. JSN does get the touchdown, but in the target share, but doesn't get home. Again, kind of tied here. It's cool to see Kenneth Walker getting a lot of the targets. Charbonnet does get 5 himself, but everything kind of bunched into JSN, DK, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker. But on the other side, Tyron Tracy, 129 yards on the ground, 7.2 yards per carry. Doesn't really get involved in the passing game, only 2 targets, but very concentrated offense here. Darius Slayton kind of runs into that Malik Neighbors role, the X, and does well. Does really well. And so does Wando. Wando gets home too. Cowboys game, crazy game, but for fantasy, not much to talk about besides Rico Dowdle really taking over this backfield. Dak throws for a ton of yards, but doesn't really look good against the Steelers' pressure. Justin Fields did horrible. Pass catchers for the Steelers just not looking good. Pickens dropped some easy ones. Not much to talk about there. Pickens still a star based on volume, but it's going to be ugly. Might see Russ going into this week. Who knows? Najee Harris is trending towards a non-start. Volume's king for running backs, but his 20 touches do nothing. I guess he gets there in the passing game. The receiving game, not really. 2 for 35 is only 5.5 full PPR points. You only get 4 yards or 4 points for rush yards because he just can't score. He can't find the end zone. Jalen Tolbert, actually the leading receiver here. CeeDee Lamb does get 9 targets, but only 5 catches for 62. Jalen Tolbert looks good. Jake Ferguson looks good. So moving forward, obviously Jake Ferguson's top 5 tight end. Lamb's still that top 5 receiver. I wouldn't worry too much about this game. The Cowboys are still, one of the top teams in pass rate, whether it's neutral pass rate or just pass rate in general. And then Rico Dowdle becoming more of a start. Still kind of a flex play, RB3, but definitely a starter moving forward. Tough matchup coming up, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, starter in my eyes. Tolbert, flex play, just based on the amount of passing volume that's going to run through this offense. And then Chiefs Saints, nothing to talk about here. Rashid Shaheed gets all the targets. Olave's kind of like that sacrificial X, just getting shut down by McDuffie. Shaheed catches that 43-yard bomb, does get 9 targets. Only problem is Derek Carr goes down with an oblique injury, looks to miss some time. If that happens, Shaheed, Olave, and Kamara are basically going to look like Waddle, Hill, and Achane. It's going to be ugly. I don't think really anybody gets home. The offense is going to be pretty bad, especially with the line being so banged up already. And now you're starting quarterbacks out with just an inexperienced, not that good of line, not a lot of chemistry going on there. Mahomes, 331 yards, but just no touchdowns, a pick. This offense somehow still gets it done, but it's mostly on defense and Harrison Butker's leg. They look bad, shit, in my opinion. But it's the Chiefs, and they're gonna win because, yeah, fun. All right, let's take a look at our best ball stuff. What we're really here for. Our Superflex team still not looking good. Pre-draft best ball still looking good. Leaderboard 2. We have a team in first, 9th, and 5th. So we'll look at the team in first. This is the same team that's been in first. Lamar, Baker, Minshew, with Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, Jerome Ford, Tyler Algier. Then these other 3 running backs really aren't ever going to get home. Maybe Mitchell at the end of the year when he comes back, but or Gainwell if Saquon got hurt. But really, it's these 4 backs. Only problem is Jerome Ford can lose some work to Nick Chubb, but he'd still be the passing down back in Cleveland. Nick Chubb's never had that role. Nice thing though here is with the receivers. Jefferson gets home. Always. Marvin struggle. I mean, the receiving room, I'd expect Mike Williams to get going a little bit more here. He's going to start playing full time. The Dobbs not playing didn't help. But Jacoby Myers being the one there now with no Devontae helps out a lot. Demarcus Robinson should do better with Cooper Kupp back. Brock Bowers is just a freak. But the Mark Andrew usage is probably what's going to weigh this team down, in my opinion. If we're looking at the leaderboard 1, we have 2 teams, 1 in first, 1 in second, that are advancing, and then 5th place and 7th place. We'll look at this team. This team's crushing it. 706 points. Lamar, Jordan Love, sick. Need Breece Hall to get going again, but the running back room's pretty solid. The only thing is Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are hurt at the moment, so need them to get back and get healthy. Just because Breece has been lackluster. Same with Ramondre. The other part of this team too is like Devontae hasn't been playing, but it's been being carried by Jaden Reed, Deontay, and Shaheed. And then that spike week from Juwan Jennings. So hopefully Devontae gets traded here soon so he can start playing for my best ball teams. And Debo starts mixing in more. But tight end room solid with Kittle and Freiermuth. This other team that's in second, that's not my team. In second is down 30 points, but it's a solid team. It's Kyler and Trevor with Russ, who could potentially be starting this week, repping with the backups to begin week 6, but he's going to be a full participant, so Calf must be feeling better, especially after that rough loss. We'll open practice with the backups as to not disrupt Justin Fields' preparation. The coach is leaving the door open for Wilson to potentially take reps with the first team later on. Fields tentatively looks to be trending toward picking up another start, though the Steelers could change course and go with Wilson. This is a game moving forward where, like, if the Steelers are starting to trail or Fields looks bad against the Raiders, I'd expect Wilson to come in or just start the game. This is a must-win for the Steelers. The Raiders are horrible. Anyway, back on this team. This team, if it can advance, should be good with Pacheco coming back later in the year, and then Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford mixing in. Like, the running backs on this team are so sick. I can't get enough of it. It will kind of take a hit with no Derek Carr, and then obviously with Pacheco being out and Nick Chubb still working back in. But Dobbins coming off the bye, Dowdle working as the one in Dallas again. Justice Hill obviously seeing some role, but really getting carried by Jamar Chase. Rashee Rice is going to hurt this team a little bit. But the nice thing is we have Kelsey on this team where he's going to get the propped up role of Rashee Rice basically. So I'm fine with that. And Freiermuth still working in. Pittman Downs, got those two. As long as Flacco's there, it'll look good. But even with AR, if he can figure it out, I think that offense will be solid with them. Only thing weighing this team down, Marvin Mims. Zay Jones should be back off suspension this week, but with Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, and Marvin Harrison, tough to see him doing too much for this team, but we'll see. There's a little more drafts. Let's look at our regular season drafts here. The Poodle, we have a team in 7th. The Hound Dog, that team's in 10th. And again, I would like to note that this is pretty early in the season. Still, it's only through 5 weeks, so we still have 9 more weeks to go for best ball and fantasy football before the fantasy football playoffs. A lot of things can change, a lot of things can happen. So I'm not worried about some of these teams that aren't doing well. Obviously, if my teams are like in 10th to 12th place, that's a little bit worrisome. Hard to fight back from there. But again, injuries happen. Anything can happen. Guys come back. New guys get injured. It's a cycle. So don't want to get too excited about my teams being this high up, but also don't want to get too worried about my teams being, too far down either. Hound Dog, we do have one team advancing in 2nd, the other team in 11th. Team in 2nd, 609 points. Pretty tight race. Love Smith. The Bryce Young is killing us. That's a 0. And then these quarterbacks have both week 10 buys, so that's kind of why I took Bryce Young in that position. So now that's going to crush me if Bryce Young doesn't start by week 10 again. But Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, the running backs are sick here. Mostert's back in action. Looked pretty good, especially with no Achane. If that Denver offense can start getting right, this team will look solid. But again, the top 3 guys are solid with Mostert too. Tyreek Hill obviously need to. 25 points isn't cutting it, but this team's still in 2nd place because of Reed and Mooney. Laporta, Freiermuth, need Laporta to get going. Seems all right. Odell maybe starts to do some things with Tua back in play. Tennessee off the bye. Maybe we can get something going with Will Levis, but not super stoked on that team, especially with the quarterbacks with the same bye week. Fast Puppy, this is where we're dominating. 3 teams in 1st, a team in 2nd, 5th, 8th, 9th, 5th, 10th. The 2 teams contending in 5th, and then 4 other teams advancing, so that's nice to see. Let's take a look at these ones. This team's in 1st by a ton. Lamar, Stafford. So super sick there. Again, the running back room is solid with Javonte getting a little bit better. Only problem with Zach Moss being injured. Kamara, no Derek Carr. Deontay Foreman is kind of just a 0. It's kind of seemingly trending that way. But receiver room should be propped up here with Higgins finally healthy. Cooper Kupp coming back next week. Going to be finally healthy. Again, Demarcus Robinson should do better with Cooper Kupp in the mix and when Puka comes back, just because they won't be looking to shut him down. He could be able to slip through the cracks. Jalen McMillan has been out, so it'll help when he gets back as well. He's a good 3 on that Tampa team. It passes at a decent click. And then the tight end room, pretty solid with Likely and Freiermuth. Juwan Johnson's just there. The 2nd place team, another Lamar team. Justin Herbert hasn't done much. Obviously, they were on bye. He's been hurt. And that team's been so run heavy. But another one with, obviously, common trend is the good running back room teams are doing better. Clyde Edwards-Helaire should be back this upcoming week, but they're on a bye, so he should be practicing going into week 7. But Kareem Hunt seems to have a lock in that backfield. I expect CEH to be the number 2 there, splitting work with Kareem. Should have touchdown upside though. Chuba looking elite. Obviously Henry and Jacobs. Another one with Adams though, where need him to get traded to play somewhere. McConkey coming off the bye, he's been looking good. Should continue to see an increased role. Cook's hurt on IR, doesn't help. Rice gonna be a 0 this year probably. And then tight end room sick. TJ Hawkinson should be making his debut off the bye in week 7. And we have Brock Bowers, Johnny Smith. This team in first. Hurts Bo Nick's team. Bo Nick's actually been getting home, especially with his rushing upside. Running back room, pretty nice here. Estime could be a good pick later in the season. Unfortunately, Rashad White's losing work. Charbonnet doesn't get work with Kenneth Walker healthy. AJ Brown will be back, though. That'll really help this team. Unfortunately, as soon as Brown's back, we lose Nico Collins on this team. And Nico Collins was placed on IR. So that's 4 games out for him. At the minimum. Which should see a boost in Diggs and Dell, hopefully. But yeah. That's interesting to see there. I didn't even notice. That just happened 23 minutes ago. So there's our update there on Nico Collins. Stephon Diggs, though, sick to see we have him. So we lose Collins, but should get an uptick in Diggs usage. He's already been getting a ton of work, but should see that work. Shaheed, dog. No Derek Carr, though, for at least a week or two. Sutton will have better days. Jermaine Burton has been a 0 so far. Just with Yoshivas dominating. Mims, 0. But tight end room, pretty good. Conklin's been getting decent usage. Goddard as well, coming off the bye week. And then Hunter Henry's Hunter Henry. So, not a bad team. The Nico Collins stuff is going to hurt, but at least we have AJ Brown coming back right when he gets hurt. That team should support itself, I hope. It'll be a sick team come playoff time if it advances. Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, this team's pretty decent. I mean, Josh Allen's been lackluster the last few weeks. JT injured, Singletary injured, but Chuba and Rico and Tank all helped this team last week. JT could be back this week, and Singletary, who knows what they're both dealing with. JT has that high ankle sprain, but mild. And then Singletary has a groin injury, but those tend to linger. But Chuba's still going to have all the work there until probably once or by 11. I'd say most of the work there until Jonathan Brooks fully works back in. So week 5 this week, coming up to week 6, I expect Jonathan Brooks to be, if they start practicing him this week, if they designate him off IR. Week 6, if he probably wouldn't play this week, play week 7, start ramping up week 7, week 8, week 9, and then, get the bye week in week 11. Really, he probably wouldn't see a full backfield until week 12, 13, 14, and then for the fantasy football playoffs. So Chuba is still solid. Braylon Allen just there for the Breece Hall contingency. Looking at the receivers on this team, again, this team's in first place, but not by a ton. This team's actually pretty low scoring in regards to other teams. But Debo, Zay, Jameson coming off the bye. Curtis Samuel basically a 0 at this point, still dealing with turf toe, looks like. Cook's on IR. Polk's been a non-factor because that passing game there is brutal. Corley is 0. Devontae Walker is 0. So, I mean, we're going to get 0, 0. Nothing. Yeah, this receiving room is going to be tough to advance this team. But we do have Kyle Pitts and George Kittle. So we'll see. Take a look at the fast puppies. Or actually the puppy threes. We only have a couple more teams to look at. 2 in the puppy threes advancing, but we have 3 third place teams, a 7th place team, 2 9th places, and 2 11th places. So let's just look at the first place teams. This one has 672 points. That's crazy. Jaden Daniels, Matt Stafford, Derek Carr. Running back room sick if Bijan starts playing up to par. H.N. on a bye, but should look better off the bye. I think they have the Colts off the bye, and then Tua's back week 8, hopefully. Dobbins off the bye this week. Tank Bigsby, we just talked about him having a big week. DK's been doing well. McLaurin's been doing well with the Daniel stack. Tight end room pretty sick. We talked about Robinson. We've talked about Shaheed. We talked about Myers, JSN, Deontay. This team's pretty locked and loaded, in my opinion. If they can get rolling, Derek Carr gets out. Like, this team's sick. I like this team a lot. Again, what's the puppy? 300K. This team is. If this team can advance, it's got potential. This other team, Kyler, CJ Stroud. This will be good because Chase Brown is going to be maybe the potential lead back here with Moss injured. Trey Benson a 0. Jalen Wright been a 0. Damian Pierce been a 0, injured. These people are all contingent on injuries. Nico Collins going on IR doesn't help, but Neighbors will be back. Chase has been a dog. Mooney's been a dog. Tolbert's been a dog. Yoshi getting there on touchdowns. Curtis Samuel is 0. So this team's decent. We also have Trey McBride as tight end. Noah Fant hasn't really gotten home, but this team's not as exciting as the other team we have advancing. All right, last couple teams. Let's check out the Puppy 2 team. Team in first, team in fourth, team in seventh, team in 12th. This first place team, Josh Allen, Geno Smith. Hopefully Josh Allen starts playing better. Gibbs maybe looks to get more involved off the bye. Talked about Javonte. Zeke losing work, but we do have JK, so Gibbs, Cook, Williams, JK are solid 4 backs. London breaking out. Higgins healthy. Addison healthy, but on a bye. Jameson Williams off the bye. Talked about Shaheed. Roman Wilson still a healthy scratch. Thielen on IR. Should be back relatively soon. Slayton actually has a big day for this team with no Neighbors, so that's cool. Ferguson looking solid. Schultz should look to get more work with no Nico. Not a bad team for the Puppy 2. One more team. Let's look at the Schnauzer here. Team in first, team in 10th, team in 5th. This first place team in first by a decent amount. Hurts Mayfield team. And then running back wise, Zamir White's going to be a 0. A is injured and B is kind of just getting benched for Madison. But Robinson Jr.'s been solid. Zeke's gonna turn into a 0. Marshawn Lloyd 0. Okay, so this team's kind of cooked on running back, but AJ Brown's back, could get carried by the receivers. AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Godwin. The Tampa Bay receivers are really carrying this team with Mooney and Tolbert. Olave needs to get Carr back, but Ferguson, Goddard, solid tight end room. So if something does happen to like Dowdle or Pierce can get healthy, or yeah, I don't know. It'll be tough. I don't know. This team will be tough to make waves, in my opinion, but it's possible. Anything's possible. Marathon teams, those teams are atrocious. We won't even look at those. 2 of my sit and goes are doing really well. I'm in first in 2 of them. This one is so good. I'm in first by over 100, like almost 115 points. I think it is 115. 114, whatever. But yeah, this team's so sick. Tight end room sick. The receiving room is absolutely bonkers. Like, not one miss here. The running back room besides Elijah Mitchell and Najee, but Aaron Jones hurt, but even them, like, sick. The only downfall is Deshaun Watson, but Geno's been balling. AR should be back. My team in 12th. Why is this team so bad? Oh, because of Tua and then Jalen being on bye. And the running backs suck. AJ Brown's been out and Jalen Waddle's been out. All right, that team sucks. This 4th place team, what's that been doing? AR Caleb. Saw their first place team. Pretty sick. I'm up by 50. This is a Rashid Rice team though, but it's my Lamar Patrick Mahomes stack. Pretty solid team. Chandler should be working in as the 1. Watson hurt though. Rashid Rice out for the year. It's possible. Good team. Good tight end room. I did a lot of Brock Bowers, Isaiah Likely, Juwan Johnson teams, it looks like. And then my weekly winners teams are still in shambles. But the good news is a lot of the teams I built with CMC were built for like week 11, I want to say. And they were built around like the NFC West with Rams players, Seattle, like the Seahawks players, Cardinals players, and 49ers players. So if McCaffrey ever plays and gets healthy, that'll help. And then I have a Puka team as well. But yeah, these teams probably aren't going to do much till later in the season, if anything. That's a wrap for this best ball recap segment and our injury recap. We'll be looking to do our preview video tomorrow before Thursday Night Football. We'll do a week. What are we doing? A week 6 preview? Yeah, I hope you guys appreciate this content. Checking out my best ball teams, seeing where we're at. I do have a couple DraftKings best ball teams as well. That's full PPR. This is half PPR on Underdog. We never look at those. I think some of them are doing all right, but a lot of them are in last place. So appreciate you guys for checking in, tuning in. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for